All right, we are recording and I'm gonna share my screen. All right, I believe you all should see the screen at this time. Can everybody see the presentation? Okay, great.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, awesome. So the title of our first presentation for this semester is When Life Gives You Lemons. Of course, Ms. Allie told you all I'm Dr. Christy Montgomery. I serve the college as the Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs, Diversity, and Inclusion. I am also a licensed professional counselor. And so I love to work with students, and more than anything, I love to encourage those who are around me, students, faculty, staff, to help us keep moving forward. So this presentation is specifically about what to do when life gives you lemons. So fall 2021 has presented many challenges for us as a North Shore family. We were super excited over the summer, gearing up for the fall semester to start, excited for students to really start coming back on campus in person. We missed that engagement with our students. North Shore has always been known for really spending time with students, building relationships with our students, mentoring our students, and helping them to get to the next level. So we were geared up, super excited about coming back into the new semester, being able to be in person a little bit more. And then things began to change. We began to hear more about the Delta variant of COVID really over the summers when it really started to present itself more. And we began to have to kind of pivot and think a little bit differently and say, okay, we've been dealing with this pandemic for the past year. Now we have a different variant of the virus that is kind of a little bit more aggressive with younger populations. So now we have to pivot a bit. We have to think a little bit differently about what we anticipated the semester to be like. Then we started the semester, we gained our momentum, we were excited. We started that first week and a half of the semester, and then boom, Hurricane Ida hit. When Hurricane Ida hit, that really shook us up. This has been one of the first times that we've had an event, a storm, or something of that nature that has impacted multiple campuses. This has been the first situation that all of our campus locations have been impacted in a great way. So we were then in a position where we couldn't communicate with our students. We couldn't communicate as we wanted to with our faculty and staff. We had individuals who were displaced. And all of this is happening while we're still trying to navigate a pandemic. We've got students who are trying to start their education or complete their education. It's maybe their last semester. And now they have to figure out, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? I don't have anywhere to live now. My car has been flooded. My children are out of school. So many things happening at one time. And that's a lot for anyone to manage. And this is a situation that has impacted our entire college family, not just our students, but faculty and staff as well. So you could say that over the past year or so, and even in the past month or so, we've been given a lot of lemons. We've been given a lot of things to navigate. And that's on top of just the everyday life. You know, how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to make sure my children are okay? Is this the right major? Have I made the right choice? All of the day-to-day relationships and family situations that are already happening. Now we have two major events that have happened and that are impacting our college family. And so it makes it a bit challenging as you're trying to progress and as you're trying to be successful as a student. So when life gives you lemons, what do? The common phrase is, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Make the best out of it. Make something sweet out of it. But Since we're North Shore Gators, we're not going to make lemonade. When life gives us lemons, we make Gator-Aide. And I'm going to talk to you all about what Gator-Aide is. What are the ingredients that you need to make Gator-Aide, to make that thing that's going to help you to continue to thrive and to continue to be successful in the midst of a challenging time. So the first thing you have to do is process. Process, process, process. How do I feel? What is this emotion? Am I angry? Am I frustrated? Am I sad? Am I motivated? What am I feeling? Because that's always the first step. That's always the first ingredient to turning the corner and making a positive situation out of something negative. You have to give yourself the opportunity to just sit down a moment and process how you really feel, not depending on what you think people feel you should be feeling at this point. Not worried about, well, I have to be strong for my family, or I have to be strong for my children. Sometimes you have to step back and just be honest about how you feel. There are some of you who are confused. You don't know what to think. You don't know where to go. There are some of us who are frustrated. How could this be happening again? I went through this. We have some individuals who've been with our college for a while or who have lived in this region for a while. I went through this with Hurricane Katrina. Why am I dealing with this again? Or my home was flooded a couple of years ago. Why am I going through this again? Or I just had gotten my motivation to start classes. What is happening? Why am I getting all of these barriers? Why can't I have the normal college experience like everyone else did? Why am I dealing with all of these challenges? You have to allow yourself the opportunity to process those emotions, process those feelings, so that you can then begin to move forward. If you never truly identify how you feel, accept how you feel, and address that feeling, process that feeling, you'll never be able to move forward. So this quote is, to master your emotions is not to suppress them. It is to process them with diligence and express them with intelligence. The only way that you can express your feelings effectively is if you have taken the time to process them. If you don't do that, that's when you find yourself lashing out on the wrong individuals, getting frustrated about the smallest of things. You have to give yourself time to process what is really going on. And that requires you being patient with yourself. Okay. The next ingredient that you have to add is acceptance. There are a lot of things that we don't like that go on. I'm sure that most of us do not like the current circumstances that we're dealing with. We talked about the storm, we talked about the pandemic. We also have a lot of political and social unrest going on in our communities and in our nation right now. And a lot of us don't like it. It causes us a lot of discomfort. But one thing we have to do is to accept acceptance. That means accepting the situation or accepting that it happened or it exists, okay? I accept the fact that this is the current world, the current situation that I am living with and that I have to deal with. Now, I also included resignation, which is pretty much a long way of saying quitting, right? It means that you decided that there's nothing you can do about your situation, so then you become helpless. As a student, as a faculty member, as a staff member, you can't transition to that place. You can't transition to that place of helplessness because then you're not able to move forward and grow. So what acceptance allows you to do is just to acknowledge this happened. And now that I recognize that this happened, I now have choices on how I move forward. So it doesn't help when you just try to suppress and say, oh, this isn't a big deal, or I'm just going to ignore this. It doesn't go away. So you have to accept that this situation happened. It may be a bad situation. I may be displaced, or I may not have a vehicle right now, but this is the current situation that I'm in. Now I have a choice on how I proceed after that. So acceptance is when you can look back and say, hey, I may not be okay with the fact that this happened, and I may not ever be. You don't have to be okay with your situation. But there are new things in my mind and heart, new things to take my energy and attention, things that actually deserve it, things that don't force me into having to accept anything I don't want to or move on. Acceptance is tomorrow. Even if the pain is still there, you realize it may always be. And somehow that's okay. Sometimes the remembrance of what happened, or the pain of what happened, or the frustration of what happened, then can be our motivation that will catapult us to the next level. So acceptance is not necessarily forgetting, but it's saying, this is something that I cannot change. And now I'm committed to take the next step of moving forward. So the next ingredient is coping. Now that I've accepted my situation, now I have to cope with it. Now I have to deal with it. Now I have to manage it. Because if I only accept it and I don't begin to address and deal with it, then it will bog me down. It will keep me buried. It will stem and create something like depression or anxiety and those types of things. So now I have to put in some coping skills. And I really like this little chart because it just gives basic things. Slow down. Calm down. Keep a positive mindset. Unplug. Have fun. Take a deep breath. Just take a walk outside. Smile. Meditate. Relax. Whenever you're trying to cope with things, you have to basically press pause. When you're needing to cope, you have to press pause. You have to press pause to do some self-care, to examine yourself, to assess where you are in the midst of that circumstance that you cannot change, and begin to move forward through creating a space for joy in your life. You may not be able to find that happiness in the thing that you lost. So now we've got to find a different space of happiness, a different way to move forward in a positive direction. The goal isn't to get rid of all your negative thoughts and feelings. That's impossible. The goal is to change your response to them. We cannot get rid of what has happened. We cannot just eliminate the pandemic. We cannot eliminate that the storm just destroyed and wreaked havoc on our region. We cannot eliminate that, but what we can do is change our response to the negativity that we are experiencing. Change our perspective. The next ingredient is focus, okay? Now that I am trying to be in a more positive vein, I'm doing some self-care. I am trying to shift my thinking from that negative thing that happened to a more positive light. Now it's time to focus. And that's one of the things research has shown that 95% of people say they struggle to focus. I know for myself, because there's so much going on, I feel like I'm never able to truly focus on the task at hand because there's 1,000 different things going on in the background, right? I don't know if you guys can hear the background noise in my office, but just even in this presentation, my phone has rung 8 times, right? It happens constantly. Is something going on? A text message is coming through, an email is coming through, the phone is ringing. There is something happening constantly, and it makes it very difficult to just focus on how to move forward, how to overcome, how to progress, how to be successful. So this chart provides a couple of different tips to help with that. So one of the things it says is keep food at your desk. Keep a snack. So that way you can keep yourself nourished. Now, I'm not telling you to have a T-bone steak at your desk. What I'm saying is to have a snack. As you're trying to study, focus now with everything going on, keep a snack available. Turn off the phone. Turn off the phone. Every time that phone dings, buzzes, you get distracted. So when you are trying to focus, especially with everything going on, turn off the phone. Make sure you're in a comfortable chair. Make sure you're in a comfortable place. Make a list. of everything that you need to do and make it short. Don't give yourself a 21 bullet list, because 9 times out of 10, if you have an hour to work on some things, you're not going to accomplish those 21 items. And then you become frustrated because you didn't reach your goals. So make a short list of things that with this time that I have, okay, my children are in bed, my, spouse is where he needs to be, or I have about 2 hours of quiet in my home. So I have to maximize on this time. What can I get done in that time frame? I have to focus. Whatever, some people, music helps them focus. You can utilize that. Clear your desk. So in many cases, and I know this is true for me, if I sit down at my desk and I have a lot of things going on, I get distracted by all of the different piles of other things that I need to do. So sometimes it's good to just clear your desk so you can focus on that one thing. Okay? Time yourself. Make sure you understand how long it takes you to complete that 10-question quiz, or how long it takes you, because then you can better manage. And there's so many other things that you can do, but these are just tips to help you to focus. Focus is what helps you to be successful in actually completing a task. When you're all over the place, you're not accomplishing anything. So it is important for you to make the best out of a bad situation, is that you're able to really focus on what is the task at hand. Don't look at the whole house and say, oh my gosh, everything is destroyed. How am I going to get back? How is life going to be normal? How about I just focus on this one room and try to get this room organized? Let me focus. Let me focus on this one task, making sure that I am communicating with my internet provider to make sure that my internet gets turned back on as soon as possible. Let me focus on this one thing instead of trying to focus on all of these different scenarios. Let me try to nail in so that I can make progress in some area. You don't get results by focusing on results. You get results by focusing on the actions that produce results. So don't focus so much on what the end goal is. Focus on what are the steps you need to take to get to that end goal. Focus on those individual daily steps that you can take to help you to overcome and to be successful in whatever your goal is, whether it's school related, whether you have a personal goal to, save more money, whether you don't focus on, I need to have $5,000 in my savings by the end of the year. Focus on today. Maybe if I don't go get that fast food at lunch today, I could save that money and put it in my savings, and eventually it will add up to that end goal if I just focus on what I can do right now. So focus on the actions that produce those results. The next ingredient is positivity. Maintaining a positive outlook will help you to soar in the midst of your most difficult circumstances. Just making sure that you have a positive view in the most negative situations. I'm one of those individuals that it doesn't matter what the situation is. My first thought is it could have been a lot worse. I immediately go to that place because I'm one of those folks that I have to encourage myself, because in my role, I have to encourage others, but I first have to encourage myself. And that's one of the first things that I do is I say, you know what? I know this is tough, but it could have been a lot worse, or we could have been dealing with this. So I'm grateful that we're not dealing with that. So you have to have that positive outlook, even in the most dire of circumstances. You have to be able to say, yes, this is what I lost, but I'm still here. I'm still standing. I'm still breathing. I'm still moving forward. So I have to be grateful for that. I have to hold on to that. I have to hold on to that fact and move forward. So keeping that positive outlook. Okay. The biggest obstacle you will ever have to overcome is your mind. If you can overcome that, you can overcome anything. There's so many writers that have written about the battlefield of the mind. and what happens in the mind. Many times we can be our worst enemy because we begin to process in our mind what we can't do and what's too difficult and what's too big for us to carry and what's too hard for us to deal with. And until we change our mind, we don't move forward. So the biggest obstacle you'll ever overcome is your mind, changing your mindset to believe that no matter what comes in your way, no matter what grade that you received on that first exam, or no matter what this challenge is, that you have the ability, you have the skill set to be able to move forward and overcome that challenge. It starts right here. And then from changing your mindset, your actions have to follow. So keeping that positive outlook is extremely important. The sixth ingredient is very important, it's dedication, because you can think positively and you can be focused on something, but if you're not dedicated to seeing it through, then it's not going to come to fruition. It's not going to happen. You're not going to get the full effect of that thing that you're trying to accomplish. So dedication is the hours and hours of our time and energy we put in when no one is watching. It's not just the time that you spend when you come in the classroom. It's not just the time that you spend, on your job. It's the time that you spend when nobody else is watching, no one else sees what you're doing. It's that private time that you're studying. It's that time when you have 15 minutes in your car between classes and you pull out your flashcards and you begin to work toward getting that A in that course. Or it's the time that you spend, sitting and waiting in line to be seen at the doctor's office, studying those flashcards for your next exam in the nursing program. That is dedication. When it doesn't matter who sees what you're doing, you have committed to yourself that this is my goal, this is what I want, and I'm going to put every fiber of energy that I have toward this goal. Nothing is going to keep me from accomplishing this goal. Nothing is going to keep me from overcoming this challenge. I am dedicated to moving forward. I am dedicated to rebuilding. I am dedicated to not allowing this to hinder me from reaching my goal. Dedication says COVID does not have the ability to stop me from reaching my goal. Hurricane Ida does not have the ability to stop me from reaching my goal because I'm dedicated to work around every obstacle that may present itself so that I'm successful and so that I reach the goal that I set out to do. We all have dreams, but in order to make dreams come into reality, it takes an awful lot of determination, dedication, self-discipline, and effort. We all can sit back and dream about where we wish we could be, how much money we wish we could have, the career we wish we could have, the life we wish we could live. But you have to couple that with determination, dedication, self-discipline, and effort. When I look at these athletes who have all of these abilities, so my husband loves sports, so he watches ESPN all day long. And sometimes they show these documentaries about these athletes. All I know is what I see on Sunday when they're running down the field and scoring a touchdown or tackling or what have you. But what the documentary shows you is their eating habits, their sleeping habits, their workout habits. These people are working out hours upon hours a day. They are training hours upon hours a day. They are putting in work so that on Sunday or on Monday night, they can perform at that highest level. They can compete with others who have the same skill sets that they do. They're not just laying up and saying, hey, I'm talented, so it's just gonna come to me when I show up to the game. They're having to put in a lot of energy, work. They're putting their bodies through a lot of strain, a lot of pain, a lot of difficulty to get to that goal. Well, guess what? We have to do the same thing. If your goal is to be a nurse, you got to put in a lot of strain and a lot of work to get to that goal. If your goal is to be a welder, you got to put in a lot of work to get to that goal. It doesn't just fall in your lap. Now, there are some things that come to us naturally. But anything worth having is worth working for. You have got to invest something in order to get that end result. And so it takes that determination and that dedication. We all are going to have stumbling blocks that come along the way, but that determination, self-discipline won't allow you to quit when those things come into play. It'll force you to keep moving forward. A lot of people use the term delayed but not denied. I may have to wait a couple of weeks before I continue, or I may have to sit out a semester before I continue. But the reality is I will continue, and I will complete, and I will graduate, and I will get a job, and I will provide for my family. That's what dedication does for you, is it keeps you moving forward in the most adverse situations, no matter what comes your way. Optimism. Optimism is a very important ingredient. It's essential to achievement and also the foundation of courage and true progress. Optimism will cause you to step out and take a chance. It will cause you to step out and put yourself out there in situations that you typically wouldn't do. When you have an optimistic view, when everybody else says, oh, why don't you just sit out this semester? Oh, why don't you just, take a break? This is too much for you. Your optimism says to you, I'm going to give it a shot because I believe I have the potential and the ability to overcome. I believe that I'm going to get on the other side of this, and there's going to be a ray of sunshine. There's going to be a rainbow at the end of this, right? There's going to be a pot of gold at the end of that rainbow. Optimism helps you to keep moving forward, even though it looks bleak right now. You're not just looking at the now, you're looking at what happens later. You're looking at that end result. You're looking at, I understand this is a challenge that has been presented to me, but I'm hopeful. Optimism is hope. I'm hopeful that we can overcome this. I'm hopeful that times won't always be like this. I'm hopeful that I won't have the same challenges. I'm hopeful if I can just make it through this first semester, the second semester won't be as difficult, right? So that's what optimism does for you. It motivates you to continue to go in the midst of adversity. Do not worry if all the candles in the world flicker and die. We have the spark that starts the fire. Optimism says it doesn't matter what's going on around me. It doesn't matter what's going on around me. There's a spark on the inside of me that if every flame around me dies, I've got the spark that can ignite them again. I have that spark. It doesn't matter what the situation is. I have that spark. I'll tell you, that is the attitude of most student affairs professionals. Let me just say that. Because we have students that come to us constantly who say, I can't, I won't, I don't have the ability. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. And they have died out. The flame is gone. So all we do is rub up against them and start a new spark. And you guys have to be able to do that for yourself, not just for yourself, but for those around you. You all know you've got classmates, friends, people that you're connected with. We're all going through some of these things together. You have the spark that can start a fire. You have the spark that if you believe in yourself, if you're motivated, if you're dedicated, if you're focused, that you can start a fire in someone else. Just by you not allowing your flame to dim. Okay, so keep that in mind. So, 7 ingredients to our journey to Gator-Aide. We've got to process what's happening, accept it. You don't have to like it, accept it. Then we have to cope with it, begin to deal with it. Then focus. Focus on how I'm going to move forward. Focus on how I'm going to overcome this challenge. Keep a positive outlook, remain dedicated, and then have a whole lot of optimism, a whole lot of vision, a whole lot of believing that you can obtain whatever that goal is and achieve whatever that goal is that you have set out to do. So once you add all of those ingredients together, you get Gator-Aide. Now, what does Gator-Aide do for you? Well, I can tell you what Gator-Aide does. It refuels, it rehydrates, it creates balance, it energizes, and it will refresh you. So even in the midst of everything that we're dealing with, everything that we're going through, if you apply those 7 tools, you will come on the other side refueled, refreshed, rehydrated. You will be balanced. You will have balance. It will energize you and it will refresh you. If you can make it through that process, you can get a new zeal to continue to move forward. But you've got to go through the process. It's not easy. It's not comfortable. We don't like it. But if you make it to the other end of that and you make it all the way to optimism, you will find yourself being refreshed and gearing and ready to move forward. And that's the place where we want you all to be, is in a position where, in spite of the circumstances, in spite of the challenges, you are ready to take on the next obstacle. You are ready to perform, excel, and overcome. We're Gators. Gators are strong. We're not weak. Gators are strong. And one of the biggest signs of strength is acknowledging when you're having a problem, acknowledging when something is a struggle. That's one of the biggest signs of being a strong individual, is being able to say, this is a problem for me. This is weighing me down. See, strength is not always saying I'm just gonna plow through it, because you never really get true healing and you never really get past whatever that challenge is. We don't want you to just go through the challenge. We want you to get past the challenge and overcome the challenge, whatever that challenge may be for you. So I hope that these tips have been beneficial to you all. I'm going to stop sharing my screen at this time. And I'm going to open the floor for any feedback or comments that you guys have. I believe you can unmute. You can also ask any questions at this time. And again, I hope that this information has been beneficial to you. I'll open the floor.
Yes, I want to thank you. That was definitely a perfect topic for the situation that we all are in as a whole. I think that the process, and not saying it makes lemonade, but Gator-Aide actually kind of gets to the point. And just knowing that others are going through the same type of situations makes you feel a little bit better, that you can understand each other and be able to deal with and help each other cope with the problems that we face.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your comments.
No
and
problem.
I was, as you were saying that, when you think about Gator-Aide, is something that typically, as I mentioned, athletes use it a lot to replenish.
Right.
But athletes, they don't really work out alone. They don't go through alone.
No,
they have a team. It's always a trainer. Somebody is going through with them. And so as Gator family, we are going through these challenges together. And so that's important, that you all know that you are not alone in these journeys, that we're here, we're with you, we're plowing through with you, and we're all having to take a swig of our Gator-Aide, because it is a challenge for us across the board.
Yeah, especially when your internet goes out from day to day, and you're just going, okay, what's next? But after you've done your exercise, so to speak, or done the things that you have put together, you've accomplished those. Sometimes you are dehydrated, weak, you are exhausted, And you do need that Gatorade to refresh you, to put you back together, to help you manage through the rest of the evening or the night and be ready for the next day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that, like you said, between the devastation of Ida and trying to, just function at work, that part about focus just hit the spot, because I have had to make my little list every day just to stay focused, because that is one area where when you got so much going on in your brain between your family life, work life, trying to clean up disaster and deal with internet issues, it gets overwhelming. So sometimes your brain just gets clouded. So it is so good with that part about focus. I know that for me, just hit the spot. So thank you.
I think somebody's trying to speak, but I
I'd
can't,
like
we
to,
can't hear you.
Can I add something real quick?
Sure.
I think that if everybody would give, everybody would get. So I'm like, people have their strengths and weaknesses and everything. So if people were to build everybody up, then everybody could stand strong.
Absolutely. Education is a team sport. It is a
Well,
team sport.
I just want to personally thank Pastor Christy Montgomery, because this church was well needed. I just want to, where's the collection plate? Because hats off to you, sister. This was a well needed inspiration for me. I'm dealing with a baby now that's in the process of losing his brother. So just going through the process in the care of losing a loved one and learning, and just the Gator-Aide, just helping him to cope, and how I wrote all this down for him, and how this is going to be so much beneficiary for him to cope with a death, in the system, and happening to deal with all of that. So, thank you.
Welcome. My team calls me Pastor Christy too, so that's fun. That's why I'm laughing.
That's fitting.
All right, guys. Well, I know we're approaching that 1 o'clock time frame, but we greatly appreciate you guys attending. Again, we will upload all of our Success Series videos to the Success Series webpage that can be found under the student tab on our website. So if at any time you need to refer back to the videos, please do so, and you'll be able to see those presentations on that webpage. So if there is nothing else, I would like to say to you guys, have a wonderful day. Enjoy the rest of your week. And we look forward to seeing you during our next Success Series presentation.
I really want to thank you.
Thank you guys for attending.
Put a smile on my face for today. I was a little down, and I think now you've kind of helped boost me up.
Well, I'm glad. Thank you so much.